Please join me in welcoming Congresswoman Louise Slaughter of the 28th Congressional District and leader of the upstate New York Congressional Caucus. Congresswoman.
Good morning. Well, I think everybody I know is up on this row, so it's delightful to be here with all of you. We're glad you can make it, and that the Senate wasn't in session this morning. Or you going in this afternoon? Okay, all right. We've got to keep an eye on these guys. Use high-speed rail to get there. I know. Well, you know, one of the things that was so, I think, a good selling point for us is that we are unable to fly to the state capitol from the second, third, and fourth largest cities in the state. That is mouth-opening to the people from downstate New York. I'm so happy to be here this morning. My husband and I have already made a great financial commitment to Syracuse. We had 2 daughters graduate from the university who had been beautifully educated there. And I've always had the soft spot here. And, of course, a great soft spot for Dan Maffei, who's really quite wonderful in Congress, as well as Mike Arcuri. Mike is on my Rules Committee, which is quite wonderful, too. And, of course, I've served with most of these other guys in the state legislature. I've been around since the beginning of time. I actually have been in Congress for 22 years, and I can tell you the first thing that I did was become a member of the Transportation Committee, which I'm glad Mike was able to do. And Dan, are you on there as well?
Good,
no.
Mike is already on.
Mike has, okay. And I put in some money. This was in 1988. To study high-speed rail across the Empire Corridor. I've been a believer that long. And about 12 years ago, as you recall, we had the highest airfares in the United States, in upstate and western New York. And I think it had a devastating effect on our economy. I'm sure we all saw it as many small businesses who had to depend on customers outside this base were unable to fly. After Southwest came into Buffalo, we had many people in Rochester who always began their trip anywhere with a trip to Buffalo, to the airport. We fought very hard then and brought in JetBlue and AirTran, which had made some difference. But I'm sorry to say that the airfares, again, are eating us alive. Not with those 2 airlines, but with U.S. Air. Right now, if you have to get a walk-up ticket from Rochester to Washington, it costs you as much as $1,600. Now, this is a job killer, no question about it. And I've thought all along how wonderful it would be if we could have high-speed rail. And let me tell you why we are better situated than anybody else in America. Because New York Central had 4 lines. They used 1. And we said we would really like to buy one of those others and make it possible for us to do the high-speed rail. But because the tracks were built for 4, we have the overpasses, the bridges, and everything that are able to accommodate more tracks than CSX uses, except, I'm sure people who are from Albany are saying except around Rensselaer, which we expect to fix in this bill. That gives us a great foot up here because we don't have to do the environmental impact statements that other places in the country will have to do, because this has been a railroad area for generations, since the 1800s. So we were very happy. I'm so glad to see my friend here from Washington. Thank you for coming. We've had enormous help from the federal government to get this done. We were so excited when the $8 billion came into the budget that we thought, in stimulus package, that we had better organize ourselves upstate. Now, we all love New York. We love every nook and cranny of it. But we did spend an awful lot of time worrying about the 2nd Avenue subway. And I had decided that if we were going to get in on part of that, we would have to organize ourselves as an upstate caucus. And it has been a great boon to us. There are 11 of us. It's bipartisan. And I think made a great impression, I believe, on our friends in Washington because we were ready. We were ahead of the game because New York State had already done some work on high-speed rail. And we were really ready, I think, to go. We won't know probably until around December. They got enormous numbers of applications. But I should tell you that in this last appropriations round, those of us representing upstate asked for money to be ready for high-speed rail. And we got $5 million that we can start on signaling and crossings right now. As I pointed out already, we're ready to go much more than anybody else because the track is there. Now, there will also be $5 billion more in the Transportation Committee over the next 5 years, and we will make sure that we get our share of that as well. But it's been absolutely an honor working with this coalition, working with my colleagues, working with all the mayors and chambers of commerce upstate New York, realizing the great benefit this will be to us. There's no question that one of the things that we need is to be able to move goods and people in a timely manner. And while I've always loved the railroads, I think you would probably have had a hard time getting me on one to go to Albany. Every time I was on one, we were always sidetracked. You had no idea when you were going to leave. You certainly had no idea when you were going to arrive. Now the whole notion that we will have a track of our own for Amtrak is so exciting to me. And let me tell you further plans that I'm working on here. Darlene mentioned going to New York City. That's terribly important. But we also need to plan to go west. Chicago and Cleveland are two of the hardest places to get to by air or almost anything else, and we need to open up in that direction. In addition, I'm hoping to expand this rail line into Montreal, west to Toronto, back down into Buffalo, and that will give us, population-wise, one of the largest economic development areas in the whole hemisphere. We are looking to provide cargo flying out of the Niagara Falls Airport, which for reasons I've never been quite clear about, has one of the longest runways in the United States. The space shuttle can land there. And it has never in its history been closed for snow. Is that a phenomenon in Niagara Falls or what? So we have said all along, why don't we develop this into a cargo area so that the people who want to ship goods out of here, and we think a lot more will come with manufacturing, with other things that we have going for us, and we could have done that, and people could bypass the ports of Halifax and New York City, which are pure bottlenecks to them. So once we get this going, I think it opens up great possibilities for further expansion into Canada, into the West. We have to do it. I think Dan Maffei was absolutely right when he said that this high-speed rail is the Erie Canal of this century. And we all know what the Erie Canal did for the economy of the state of New York. We look forward to working with you to get this to completion. We're hoping to, we think we have crossed every T and dotted every I. My office is in continual conversations with almost everybody, and we are trying to just hold our breath sort of until we finally get this okay. I can't say enough about what they've done on the federal level. They helped us with the applications. They've been extraordinarily helpful to us all the way through. And I think the fact that we are an economically deprived area to many ways, having lost so much population, so many jobs, is also a thing that we're leaning on pretty heavily to get our portion of this money. But I think, it's Excelsior one more time. It's up and out, New York State leading the way. We're going to make a big difference here with this. And I'm so delighted to see such a crowd here this morning. I've been so used to talking to about 8 people, I had no idea that you could draw this kind of crowd here on a Monday morning. And it makes us feel very good about all the work that we've been doing and knowing that you are behind us. Thank you for that very much. Thank you for the hard work you've been through. Thank you for the reports that you gave. And we will all work together and we will rejoice somewhere. We have to find some place where we can all get together, probably Syracuse, maybe it's halfway, right? Okay, and you do have the only intermodal terminal that I know of, and congratulations on that. We're going to have to do a lot of work on terminals with this as well. But we'll have to celebrate mightily because I think this will be a new day dawning for the state of New York. The last point I want to make is because we are shovel ready, which was one of the conditions of the stimulus package. I think we can see this happen much faster than we are accustomed to having things go forward, and hope in conversations that we've had that some work can start in the spring using the $5 million that we have already attained to start working on it. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of fun. And I like nothing better than to think that what we're doing on a day-to-day basis and that will benefit every one of you and people who will never know who we were. That is the nicest thing I think all my colleagues would say to you, most important part about being an elected official, because the things that we do who benefit, we hope, and I think do, all the people who never knew we existed. But the change that we can make with this high-speed rail is profound, and I think will be felt for generations to come.